Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and I'm finally done evaluating this running back draft class. But the question is, are the Washington Commanders done with adding running backs to our current running back room? I have comps for the top 2025 NFL draft running backs and even some sleepers. I'm gonna give y'all a bunch of sleepers. I have ceiling comps for those guys as well. We also got to dive into whether we should just go ahead and trade Brian Robinson right now. Of course, it happened like over a week ago, but we re-signed running back Jeremy McNichols and punter Tressway, and I want to talk about those things briefly. But for the majority of this video, we are breaking down these draft running backs and which ones are the best fits for the Washington Commanders and why. I'm not only giving you comps for each running back, especially the top ones, but I also want to give you what they're literally best at, what is their superpower compared to any other running back in the class, and why, making a case why we should take either of these guys. And I also want to give round projections of where I realistically think that any of these running backs will be available for us. Sorry I already took up so much of y'all time, but can y'all please make sure you still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, and still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinion video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for more content. I do plan on doing more videos like this for other position groups. Today's running back, but you never know, man. Maybe we'll do edge rusher next. Maybe we'll do cornerback. We'll do safety next, where I break down the top guys. I want to give comps for each one, and then also round projections and where we could potentially get those guys. So stay tuned for all of that. Without further ado, instead of wasting even more of y'all time, let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. Alright, so let's go ahead and get some of the stuff that may not be as exciting out the way, because all the way back on March 11th, Tom Pelissero announced that veteran running back Jeremy McNichols did re-sign with the Washington Commanders on a one-year deal. And then shouts out to Serge the Shooter, because he brings up a good point. He didn't even use like a Commanders picture of Jeremy McNichols, and I don't feel like it would have taken that long to just look up real quick Jeremy McNichols Commanders and get a picture of him in a Commanders jersey. He played significant minutes for us last season. Like, he had like several hundred rushing yards, quite a bit of receiving yards as well. He had some highlights. He had the big fumble. I mean, at the very least, you can get a picture of the NFC Championship game where he kind of fumbled the game away from us. But hey, man, shouts out to Serge the Shooter. That's a good point, too. That was one of the first things I thought when I saw the announcement from Tom Pelissero's tweet. They're like, man, a Titans jersey? Like, why that one? What made you go with that bar? And then immediately after that, the first thing I thought of was, okay, yeah, we re-signed you to a one-year deal, but can you please stop fumbling in crucial games, man, and at crucial moments? It seemed like he had great ball security throughout the entire season, but when we needed him to have it the most is when he didn't. But John Com did update us and let us know that we re-signed Jeremy McNichols to a one-year deal, source confirmed, and McNichols served as a valuable backup in 2024 in multiple ways. From his blitz pickups, those were the most important parts. That was the thing I liked about Jeremy McNichols the most, protecting Jaden Daniels. And we're going to definitely discuss that when we're talking about these draft quarterbacks. Which of these guys have the best chance of keeping Jaden Daniels clean, safe, and healthy? That's a big part of my evaluation of these running backs. We'll get there later. And then also, Jeremy McNichols had a career best 267 yards rushing for us last year. I know that's not like very impressive overall, but he had his career best with us, and I'm pretty sure that's one of the reasons that he did want to come back, because he had a lot of success with the Commanders compared to any other stop that he's had so far in the NFL. And then you have my boy Emmanuel Chakuba, I hope that's how you pronounce that. He tweeted, all right, bringing back McNichols. Does that mean B.ROB gets traded? Austin Eckler potentially cut? I know most likely a rookie is coming in. And then Mark Tyler, shouts out to him of Hogshaven, immediately tweeted, I gotta ask, who would even trade for B.ROB right now? And that's a great point, man. Like, what could we potentially trade Brian Robinson for? But maybe you're looking at a team like the Steelers, who are clearly trying to win right now. They want like certain floors when it comes to certain players. Because remember, they lost Najee Harris, and they went out and traded for DK Metcalf. They still have George Pickens. Aaron Rodgers just left meeting with those guys for like 6 hours, and he may end up signing with them. They're clearly not trying to rebuild. They want to win right now, and B. Robinson could help them again, especially after losing Najee Harris. But why would you trade for B.ROB? My personal point is, why would you trade for the guy where you could just draft your own guy, potentially 21st overall in the first round that's going to more than likely end up being better than Brian Robinson? Or with as deep as this running back class is, how about you just that late round pick that you would give up to get Brian Robinson? Why don't you just take a running back that's way younger and way less mileage and way less carries on his bodies with that same exact pick that you would trade away to get Brian Robinson? Which I think carries and mileage, especially on running backs more than any other position in the NFL, matters a lot. So I don't even know exactly what you could get for Brian Robinson, but then again today, now mind you, this was March 11th when this trade and Brian Robinson discussion first came up that I noticed. And then as of earlier today, like March 22nd, Saturday, 2025, Pro Football Focus listed Brian Robinson as the Commanders' best trade asset ahead of the 2025 NFL Draft. Not only did they list him as a trade asset just in general at all, like the fact that Brian Robinson's even tradable in any sort of way, but they also said that he's our best trade asset. And I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked by that. I was a little like, I don't know, Pro Football Focus. It sounds great. I would love if I'm wrong and you're correct, but that's insane. But they went on to say the Commanders' offseason is centered on upgrading the pieces around Jaden Daniels. In that sense, it might seem paradoxical to trade Brian Robinson, but there will be good reasons to do so. His Pro Football Focus grade has declined in all 3 seasons, and his 34 missed tackles forced in 2024 tied for 27th out of 31 qualified rushers. Now, granted, he did miss games. He missed quite a bit of time, but that also goes against him. That's an excuse for why he didn't produce as much statistically, especially when it comes to missed tackles and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, that's another reason why you potentially may want to upgrade at running back. With Robinson only under contract for 1 more year and this draft class being rich at the position, trading him in favor of a rookie would be plausible. And I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, but at the same time, do you think the Commanders are the only smart team in the NFL? If we know that we're better off drafting a running back and bringing him in to play over Brian Robinson, why would another team not think the same way? Why would they not be like, you know, forget Brian Robinson, we'll just draft our own guy? Why would they just suddenly, oh, we need Brian Robinson, forget these draft running backs? So that's the problem here. I have no idea what you could potentially get for him. But shouts out to Mark Tyler, because then he replied to this as well. He said, I gotta ask. And of course, he was probably just like done with this whole thing at this point. In all caps, who would trade for him? And if anybody even did, it would probably be a late round pick swap. It wouldn't even be a late round draft pick. I agree. I'm not even sure if you can get a 7th round pick for Brian Robinson at this point. You would more than likely have to do a pick swap to where maybe we stay in the same round, but maybe we move up some. Or maybe we could trade a 7th and move up to a 6th. We give them our 7th and we get a 6th in return. We move up around. That's like the best case scenario I could see potentially from trading away Brian Robinson. But I love the second point from Emmanuel that he said earlier, again with his tweet, bring back McNichols, B.ROB traded, Austin Eckler cut. I know most likely a rookie is coming in. Going back to that whole rookie conversation, I love that. Let's please speak that into existence, and preferably in the first 2 rounds, because I want a true difference maker. I don't just want a running back. I don't just want a guy. I want a guy that's going to come in and force opposing defenses to have to like game plan against them every single week. Like on some, yeah, I know they have Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, but how do we stop their running back? We do not have that type of guy on the roster right now at all, and there's none available in free agency. So if you're going to get that guy, if you really want to get that guy, you have to draft that guy, and you're gonna have to get him before the first 2 rounds are up. I can tell you that right now. But before we dive head first into that, just going back to McNichols real quick, because I promise you, we're going to get to this heavy running back class here. But McNichols did play effectively behind Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson last season. He had 4.7 yards per carry and 4 touchdown runs. That's pretty efficient. He's a good player, solid player, but not like a starting running back. And now Washington is basically retaining at the very least his top 3 running backs from 2024. And Ben Standig went on to say, maybe that could signal that there will be no rush to add more running back talent in this draft. And I immediately screamed, no! Like, I like Jeremy McNichols, but even beyond his fumble versus the Eagles, man, in the NFC Championship game, Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, and definitely Jeremy McNichols, nor Chris Rodriguez should stop you from upgrading running back in the draft, from being very aggressive with it as well. Again, I'm talking like rounds 1 and 2. I mean, I'm happy to have Jeremy McNichols back for depth, But he better not stop you from taking a running back 29th overall or 61st overall, man. And remember, we don't have a 3rd round pick right now. So unless you trade back, we need to get one within those first 2 rounds because we don't pick again until the 4th round. And shouts out to Steve at Air Raid Concepts because I completely agree. Signing Jeremy McNichols does not take us out of the running back sweepstakes at all. Same with Rodriguez. I'm willing to bet that a rookie plays in a massive role next season. I completely agree. Now, when we're talking about rookies, we're talking about, as far as the top guys, Amarian Hampton, Travion Henderson, Christian Junkins, and don't forget, we met formally with Ashton Jeanty. I'm not going to sit here and act like that's a realistic option, but don't forget that the Commanders are at the very least showing some interest towards him, even though we did an entire video breaking down why I highly doubt they would trade up far enough to get him. But there's the talent. But the real problem is, how far will these running backs even fall? I mean, even outside of Ashton Jeanty, do we even have a chance to get any of these top 4 guys? Shouts out to my boy George Cartman. He brings up a great point. I mean, he noticed that earlier today that he's seeing a lot of mock drafts circulating where Marion Hampton falls to pick 29 for the Commanders. Unfortunately, I don't see it happening. That's what he tweeted, and I agree. There are 5 running back needy teams ahead of Washington right now. The Raiders, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Steelers, and the Broncos. I don't care that the Cowboys brought in like 2, you could argue, washed up running backs in free agency, I would say. I mean, that former Broncos running back was crazy before the ACL, but he just hasn't been the same since the ACL. Not everybody can be Adrian Peterson when they come off of an ACL injury and just continue to be dominant, man. And Javonte Williams, just one of those guys that he just may never get back to himself. So the Cowboys brought some floor in, especially after losing Rico Dowdle. I forgot where he ended up going, but they have like some decent running back rotation. But they may look to go get a certified running back starter, you know, to kind of give them what they lost ever since Ezekiel Elliott fell out of his prime. And if all of those teams end up taking running back, who will even be available at 29? Again, just to read you the list again. You have the Raiders, Bears, Cowboys, Steelers, and Broncos, man. And remember, those teams also picked before us in the 2nd round as well. So even if they don't take running back in the 1st round, what's the chances of any of those top guys making it past all of those teams again in the 2nd round to our 61st pick, when all of those running back needy teams have at least 2 chances to get a running back? But I just gave y'all a crash back into reality, just coming back to earth. You know, sorry to be a little Debbie Downer a little bit here, but now I think it's time to have some fun. Let's get into some ceiling comps and the best traits for each of these top running backs, and then after that, I'm gonna project which ones we actually have a realistic chance of getting at 29 or 61, because I'm giving you the reasons why that it's going to be quite unlikely, or you may even want to consider taking them earlier than you normally would, but at the same time, there's a chance. We'll get there. But again, now it's for the fun part. And before we even get to the running backs, I do want to preface with the fact that, again, these are the top draft running back comps that I have, like realistic ceiling comps, all of that type of stuff. And I also want to tell you what each of these top 4 guys are the very best at out of this entire class. What is their superpower? And when I'm giving comps, I'm giving these ceiling because, one, it's more fun that way anyway. Like, as far as projections, that's just a more fun thing to do. What could they possibly be at their very best? That's more exciting. But most importantly, too, and the reason why I feel like ceiling comps are at least somewhat realistic for this team is because this coaching staff and this quarterback and even this offensive line with this group that we have on offense, I don't see why, if any team in the NFL couldn't at the very least get the best out of any of these guys. Like, if I'm one of these running back prospects, I'm praying the Commanders draft me, for more reason than one. But most importantly, because I feel like the Commanders have the right environment, the best environment to get closer to these prospect ceilings than their floors. I mean, you have Anthony Lynn as just our running backs coach, run game coordinator. He was the head coach for the Chargers when Justin Herbert won Offensive Rookie of the Year. And now he's just here to make sure the running backs in the running game is as successful as possible. That's it. And that's just one of the many geniuses and prodigies and guys that will eventually lead for far bigger and better things later on in the future that's currently in this offensive coaching staff right now. Like, if there's any team that can get any of these running backs and get them as close to their ceiling comp as possible, it's us. So I just feel like it's only right to, and again, it's more fun to do ceiling comps. Now let's talk about the first running back. And I'm going in order. This is in order, especially with the top few guys of my top running back rankings. I'm gonna give you my top 4 in order, and then I'm gonna give y'all a bunch of sleepers, and I'm giving you comps for those guys as well, even the sleepers, and I'm saving my favorite sleeper at the very end. Now, my favorite sleeper, I'm not putting him at the very end because I feel like he's worse than all of the other sleepers. I'm just saving him for last because I'm saving the best for last. But everybody else, the top 4 guys are in order. I really want to emphasize that. So now starting with first up, Ashton Jeanty. I feel like he's literally a faster Alvin Kamara. Literally. I mean, his yards after contact is the best in the class. If I had to pick one superpower from him that he's definitively better at than everybody else, it's his yards after contact, man. Because some guys may be a little bit more powerful, maybe like a Cam Scatterbo. Some guys may be a little bit shiftier. But nobody else in this running back class is the elite blend of both like Ashton Jeanty, at least to the level of an Ashton Jeanty. And because of that, before the college football playoffs even started, Ashton Jeanty rushed for 2,497 yards, 4th in FBS single season history, and a total that outpaced 115 FBS teams this past season. He had more rushing touchdowns, set a single season record in the college football era for yards after contact with 1,889 and missed tackles with 143. Now, just to let you know, to really emphasize how crazy that 1,889 yards after contact is, just to let you know, that's more yards than any other running back in all of college football, including Hampton, Travion Henderson, all of these other elite running backs that we're talking about. That's more than any of those guys had, period. Like, I'm talking about before and after contact combined. Ashton Jeanty had more yards after contact than any other running back in college football had just on the ground, period, in general. That is absolutely insane, y'all. That is incredible. When you're talking about putting a team on your back, nobody did it better than Ashton Jeanty, going against stacked 7-8 man boxes all game, every game, and still finding a way to get it done. Insane. But just seeing the highlights on the screen while I'm talking. Next up, second on my list, and again, I'm going in order of who I like the most, or I think is the best, because, you know, I got y'all for a fit. The guy we're going to talk about third may not necessarily be, I feel like, the literal best running back in this draft class, but I feel like he's the best fit for the Commanders. Stay tuned. Next up, in my tier list of best, just pure best, not necessarily best fit for the Commanders, I have Amarian Hampton, and I think he's literally 2003 Pro Bowl Deuce McAllister, man, literally. And I feel like his superpower is that he's the most well-rounded running back in this entire class. He has virtually no weaknesses, in my opinion. I mean, he may not necessarily be the best out of anybody at one particular thing, but if I had to say, I would probably argue contact balance is the thing that he's the closest to being the best at. But his biggest superpower, again, is the fact that he is the only running back in this entire draft class, I feel like, that has literally no weakness. Because even Jeanty has a bad fumble history and fumbling problem that he needs to work on. And then, as you can see on the screen right now, I also want to add to the fact that Amarian Hampton is probably the second best pass protector in this running back draft class as well. And I place a huge premium on that trait, probably more than most other people. If the running back can pass protect, that is huge bonus points, probably a multiplier to, like, if I had to do like numerical grades for these running backs, that's a multiplier for the grade that I would give you, man. Mostly because we finally have an elite quarterback worth protecting. So now that we finally have that elite franchise quarterback, top 5 guy, I'm placing a far bigger premium on pass protection out of running backs. That's the trait I'm looking for more than any other time I've done in the past, man. And again, just to review, Amarian Hampton is probably the second best running back at pass protecting out of this entire draft class. And that's kind of the thing with him. He's probably like the second or third best at every single thing. Receiving back, contact balance, pass protection. That's just what he is. And again, his superpower is that he has no weakness. He can be on the field no matter the situation. First down, second down, third down, first to 10, second and long, third and short, goal line, whatever the situation, Amarian Hampton should be on the field for your football team. Then next up, Travion Henderson. Again, third in my running back rankings as far as who's the best running backs just in general, like for all 32 teams, like just to put us all in one big group. But when I'm talking about pure team Washington Commanders fit, he's my very favorite fit. And I also compare him to a healthy and not fumbling version of 3-time All-Pro Jamal Charles. I don't think people understand how ridiculous Jamal Charles would have been in the NFL during this time. He was going on crazy back then when everybody wanted the big bruiser still. Imagine if he was in this third down back era with like Austin Eckler's and guys like that. He would be going crazy. And I think TreVeyon Henderson's literally a healthy and non-fumbling version of that. And man, TreVeyon is literally this draft's both best third down receiving back, I would argue, at least one of, and literally like the #1 best pass protecting back. And I also believe that he has every down back potential. I don't think he's just purely a third down back. That's why I don't like calling him a third down back and just putting him in that box. But if you need a running back on third down and you need them to potentially have to run a route, catch a pass, and protect the quarterback, all three of those, I think TreVeyon Henderson is the best at that in this draft. I mean, with his receiving ability and his elite pass protection, which is better than most NFL running backs, I would say right now already, as TreVeyon's even just coming out of college, he's the running back that I trust the most out of this entire draft class on third down. And while we're here, I feel like Henderson is our best realistic match in my personal opinion, because we're not getting Genty, even though we met with them formally at the Combine. Just go ahead and get that out your head. But TreVeyon is the perfect match and perfect upgrade for what we already have currently in the running back room. And I think it's beautiful too, because B.ROB can still be a short yardage back, like 3rd and inches situations, things like that. So you can still get value out of him that way. He'll specialize in a specific thing rather than being on the field all of the time like he had to be last year when healthy. And then Austin Eckler can even be on the field at the same time as TreVeyon, with as much Kingsbury likes to use 2 running backs in the backfield at the same time and things like that. So you're still getting value out of Austin Eckler as well. But even outside of that, what we already have in the running back room, Henderson comes in, and most importantly for me, like the thing that sets him the furthest apart from every other running back we currently have in this room, is that he immediately comes in and is your one and only true home run threat, to the point that he strikes fear in defensive backs and forces them to hesitate on potentially shadowing receivers, because they're having to wait and confirm that TreVeyon doesn't have the ball in a hole to run through. Because if they hesitate a little too long, if they focus on the receiver just a little bit, like 1 or 2 steps too many, TreVeyon is gone to the house. He's gone. He's taking it all the way for a touchdown. And that would make things easier for Jayden Daniels that way as well. While defensive backs, especially safeties, are hesitating because they're like, okay, what is TreVeyon doing right now? Meanwhile, Terry and Debo are running free. Safety is a little late getting to them. Now Jayden Daniels' job is easier as far as receiving options. And then on top of all of that, speaking of making things easier for Jayden, TreVeyon is the guy that I trust the most out of this entire draft class to protect our team's most valuable asset, Jayden Daniels. And that's including everybody, even including Ashton Genty. TreVeyon Henderson is this draft's best pass protecting running back, period. And that's even more value to a team like the Commanders compared to other NFL teams, when your quarterback is definitely a franchise guy, definitely one of the elites, and a top 5 quarterback. Arguably, I feel like he's already the 5th best quarterback, maybe even better. But keeping Jayden safe and healthy is this entire organization's top priority, like literally the #1 priority. And nobody in this draft is better at that, especially at the running back position, than TreVeyon. He's easily and by far my favorite fit for the Washington Commanders, especially for that home run ability. That's huge. That's non-existent on this team. And then also being able to pass protect for Jayden Daniels very well. And then my RB4 in this draft, I have Quiston Junkins, who I feel like could literally end up becoming Marshawn Lynch. Now, don't get me wrong, Quiston Junkins is great at a lot of things, and even as a bruising running back that loves to run through people, he also has like some great ability to run to the outside and beat people at their bad angles that they take. Basically, think of how the Ravens literally used Derrick Henry this past season, where even though he can run through people and run really well and be a force in between the tackles, he also has enough speed, explosion, and burst to get out there to the outside and beat even linebackers and some defensive backs to the edge. But Quinshawn's superpower is definitely, in my opinion, his scheme versatility. The thing that he may arguably be best at out of any running back in this draft class is the fact that you can plug and play him in any offensive scheme. He's been there, done that. Zone run, gap run, all of it. He could come in and be productive day one, no matter what offense you run. He will understand it both mentally, schematically, where he should be, what he should do, when he should do it, all of that type of stuff. Now, moving on, there's also some sleepers out there depending on what you like. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I'm saving my favorite day 3 running back sleeper prospect for very last. So let's dive into him. I mean, first up, you have Dylan Sampson. He has like a slightly slower Devon A-Chain ceiling to him, like I broke down in my most recent mock draft yesterday. Then you have Caleb Johnson. He shows some shades of like a post-injury Nick Chubb. And I don't think people truly understand how ridiculous Nick Chubb was supposed to be. Now, mind you, Chubb had already had multiple big-time leg injuries before he ever even got into the NFL. Even with as great as he was in the NFL, he was still only like 80% of what he physically was supposed to be. I think Caleb Johnson can be like the NFL version of Nick Chubb. Maybe not Georgia, but the NFL version. You just got to add in some fumbling concerns there. But if he reaches his absolute ceiling, I think Nick Chubb with fumble problems. Well, NFL version, the 80% version of Nick Chubb. But I feel like at the very least, he could be like a Rashad Penny as like maybe like a floor. I mean, I think Caleb Johnson is probably the running back that's being disrespected the most out of this entire draft class by mock drafts and big boards outside of my favorite sleeper. It's between my favorite sleeper, who again, we'll get to him last, and Caleb Johnson, who I feel like are being disrespected the most out of running back analysis that I'm seeing out there. Then you have Ollie Gordon. He screams Najee Harris with pass catching ability to me. I think he's literally Najee Harris that can actually be an option on third down. Then you have Cam Scatterbo. I think he's David Montgomery with maybe a higher receiving ceiling as far as like being a pass catcher. I mean, like as far as not only just like catching the ball and getting open to get the ball, but also once he has the ball as like an underneath throw or something like that, to be able to like finesse his way around defenders, run through them and things like that. Like once the ball has officially been caught by him via the air, I think he has a little bit of a higher ceiling than David Montgomery there. So I think David Montgomery with a little bit more receiving to him potentially, but also probably slower as well. And then there's also Jordan James, who reminds me a lot of another Georgia Bulldog and DeAndre Swift, but you just got to take DeAndre Swift and then take away some of that receiving ability. So basically like a slightly diet version of DeAndre Swift. And then there's also Devin Neal, who a lot of people love, but I think he's basically like a healthy J.K. Dobbins at best, but that's just me. I'm not very high on him. And then now saving the best sleeper for last, my Georgia dog Trevor Etienne, man. Let me cape for my boy real quick, because I look at him as literally the NFL's next Bucky Irvin, and I'm so serious about that too. Y'all will see, man. Time will tell. I mean, if we for some crazy reason do not get one of those top 4 running backs within the first 2 rounds, I think a late round flyer on Trevor Etienne would be an absolute steal. He ran the exact same 40 time as Travion Henderson, a 4.43, and both of their names start with Trev, T-R-E-V. I mean, I'm just joking, but in all seriousness, first 2 rounds, Travion is my favorite fit. And then after that, Trevor Etienne is easily my favorite option in rounds 1 through 4. So if you want to remember Rico of StreetScores' favorite running back fits for the Commanders, just remember they both start with T-R-E-V in their names. But Trevor Etienne, he has the speed, he has great vision, like some of the best vision out of any running back coming out of this class, and he's easily one of the best make the first guy miss running backs in this entire draft class as well. He's going to make that first guy in front of him miss, whether he has to juke them out of their socks, run past them, run through them, whatever. And he's also a great receiving threat with both hands and route running. I mean, he's just a little small. I would say that's one of his negatives. And even though he has more than enough will and want to, as far as pass protection goes, he still needs some technical refinement right there. I mean, he's essentially like a diet Travion Henderson, but I would for sure, between the two, give Etienne the advantage in receiving hands. I think he has the better hands as far as like being a wide receiver option out of the backfield. And Etienne is 2 years younger than Travion Henderson. Now, I'll probably give Travion the edge, or it's like a straight even, like they're basically like neck and neck with other important categories as far as running back traits go. But I'm gonna really need people to stop sleeping on Trevor, man. I'm telling y'all, just go look. First of all, look at what he did at the Senior Bowl. I mean, just like I warned y'all about Bucky Irvin last year too. I was screaming and I mocked him to us several times in mock drafts last year. I kept screaming about Bucky Irvin. I'm doing the same thing with Trevor Etienne this draft. If you want an edge rusher in the first round and then like a defensive back in the second round, then Trevor Etienne would be your guy in the 4th round. But that's just me personally. That's my favorite running back sleeper. If you're going to take a guy outside of the first 2 rounds, Trevor Etienne is my #1 option. So now with that established, how far do I believe any of these guys will last? We'll keep it 100 with y'all. And these are best case scenarios. I think Genty is way out of our range. He's going top 15 at worst, in my opinion. And then I'm assuming Hampton probably goes within the top 20, at worst top 25. I do not think he'll be available at 29 like a lot of these mock drafts are predicting. And then not only do I expect Travion and Quishon to be long gone before our 61st overall pick in the second round, but I also cannot guarantee you that at least one of those guys will not get taken before our 29th pick in the first round. It's quite likely that one of those Ohio State boys is gone before we even pick 29th. And then everybody else that we mentioned should be available like second round or later. A lot of those guys more than likely even like day 3 and stuff like that. But as far as those top 4 guys, man, highly doubt either of them are available 61st. And I think only maybe one of the 4 will be available at 29. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm giving y'all the warning ahead of time so y'all can brace yourselves for that. And then also, shouts out to Josh Taylor because it brings up a good point. He said there's no way Washington is going to run it back, no pun intended, with the same running back room. But also, no way that they keep 5 running backs. And that's a good point. So now to his point, somebody's not going to make that final 53-man roster. And if I had to pick, especially assuming that we get my favorite fit for the team, because that's just what I'm hoping happens, in Travion Henderson, then I'm thinking Jeremy McNichols may be the first odd man out, like the first of 2, because that would have us at 5 running backs. More than likely only going to keep 3 on the actual 53-man roster going into the season. And then maybe you bring back Chris Rodriguez to the practice squad, and maybe another guy that the 4th and final guy that will not make the cut to the practice squad as well. We'll get there soon. But I really want to point out the fact, because you have B.ROB and Chris Rodriguez as like your bruisers, even though a lot of people will argue that Brian Robinson doesn't run through people enough to be considered that. And then you would have 3 third down backs. And Austin Eckler re-signed Jeremy McNichols and drafted, in this scenario, in my ideal best case scenario, drafted Travion Henderson. So McNichols, you're more than likely going to be on the roster all off season and training camp. But then come September, we got to limit that roster down to 53 players. You are gone first to the practice squad, and then Chris Rodriguez more than likely goes to the practice squad as well, and then we only keep potentially Travion Henderson, in my scenario, Brian Robinson, and Austin Eckler on the actual 53-man roster. And with Chris Rodriguez, especially him, but also Jeremy McNichols, I mean, we could more than likely safely place those guys on the practice squad, just like we did a lot last year, especially with Rodriguez, where we kept throwing him on the practice squad and no other team wanted to steal him from us. So I'm pretty sure the Commanders organization, even if they do like Chris Rodriguez, they're well aware that it's highly unlikely that any other team steals you from him. So just throw him on the practice squad. He'll be there. You ain't got to worry about that. Now, moving on. Again, I wanted to make sure I at least briefly talked about every single signing and re-signing. So I do want to acknowledge the fact that the Commanders agreed to a 1-year deal with Tress Way. We're bringing back the 2-time Pro Bowler for a 12th year. And of course, this was an easy decision for a well-respected player. And this was back on March 10th. But again, we're not skipping anything. Again, like I said, even the Javon Kinlaw video is still on the way. Shouts out to Al Galdi, because I agree. He said, good to see Commanders, as expected, re-sign Tress Way. Best punter in Washington history, number 10 in NFL history in yards per punt, future inductee into the Washington's Ring of Fame. Commanders were number 9 in NFL and special teams DVOA last season, and Tress Way was a big part of that. I agree. I feel like a lot of it, especially, was like Tyler Owens, Jeremy Reeves, and Nick Bellore being elite at what they do. But Tress Way was also a big part of that, especially since we had kicking problems. We had field goal kicking problems all season, running through kicker after kicker after kicker, and we were still top 10 in special teams DVOA. That's because of Tress Way and those elite special team stoppers like I mentioned, Owens, Reeves, and Bellore. And then also, shouts out to John Com. He said Tress Way's return was a priority for the Commanders. So the Commanders wanted to get this done, and I'm even surprised that it took as long as March 10th to get it done. He's punted at a high level since joining the team in 2014. He's been with 3 coaching staffs and now back for another year for a $2.8 million deal, which is pretty good punter money. That's about where he's supposed to get. And that's a good deal for us, because he was the 3rd highest paid punter in 2024. Now he's only the 10th highest paid punter in 2025. And I would definitely argue that's great value, because I believe he's better than just the 10th best punter in the NFL. And maybe they got him for that cheap because we barely punt anyway. We're going forward on 4th downs. Our offense is so elite that they felt like, hey man, we're not about to pay any punter a lot of money, no matter how great they are, just because we barely do it. And then also shouts out to Sergeant Shooter, because he brings up a good point as well. He said this John feels like Tress Way's farewell tour. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, 1-year deal, and he's about to be 35 years old. So basically, he's potentially like, this is his last hurrah. Let me go try to win this Super Bowl, and then I'm gonna chill with my wife and kids, because he got about like 3 of them or something like that. So let's make sure we get Tressway a ring before he retires, because it could happen after the season. Who knows, man? Again, we only signed him to a 1-year deal. You know, a punter can play well like until like their early 40s if they really want to. I'm surprised we didn't sign him for like another 2-3 year deal to make sure we don't have to worry about this next year. But the fact that they signed him to a 1 year, it may not be on the Commander side, it may be on Tressway's side of like, yeah, this is my last lap around this whole thing. And hey, man, again, Commanders players, if y'all are somehow watching this, please go get our boy Tressway a ring this year so he can retire in peace with that ring and he can show it off on social media and everything. I would love that. And then now, speaking of special teams, a couple of more announcements. The Commanders did re-sign Kevon Seymour. He was a strong special teams contributor last season, technically a cornerback, but really more so a special teams guy. That was announced back on March 12th. Again, we're not skipping anybody. And then also, lastly, days until the draft, just to let you know, 33. Schedule release, 53. Training camp, 116. Preseason, 138. And 2025 season, 166. Just to let you know. So get excited. We're about to have like an ugly dead period, at least football-wise. You know me, I'm making videos every day. Even some days, multiple videos in a day. This never stops for StreetScores, but football-wise, y'all know that mid-June to mid-July is, it's a little dead period. Even right after the draft, like early May is a little, like some parts of May is a little ugly. So, but just to warn you, to get excited, draft in 33 days, schedule release in 53, training camp in 116. Let's get it. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please still farm that like button, still farm the subscription button, still farm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release informative and opinion video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting this video. If you made it this far in the video, man, salute to you. You are the GOAT yourself, man. Really appreciate that. That's big love. Also, make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like before. And of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about this whole running back situation, man. How would you rank your top running backs and why? What would your comps be? Like literally, if you had to do this video yourself, give me all of the information that you got. Your top 4 running backs, and then who are your sleepers for like draft, you know, the rounds 3 through 7 and things like that, rounds 4 through 7 on day 3, whatever. Let me know. Break it all the way down. Again, give me your comps. Tell me which rounds you potentially project these guys to go in. Do you think the Commanders have a chance of getting any of these guys at specific rounds? Let me know all of that, man. I'm gonna try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible, because again, like I keep saying, man, I humbly acknowledge the fact that I'm not this all-knowing oracle or something like that. So please put me on to some players that I may not have listed in my sleepers. Let me know if you disagree with any of my running back opinions and stuff like that. Let me know why. Back it up with statistics, back it up with traits and things like that. I'm going to try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible, because I also want to learn as well. That's one of the main reasons I started this YouTube channel, to basically be like a one-stop shop for just smart football. So if I'm wrong, let me know. Really appreciate y'all. Again, leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.